Alright, babes, if you want to know how I got this round face Soft Glam, stay tuned. I'm going to start with my color corrector by NYX. This is the Pro Fix Sticks in the shade Cappuccino. And I'm just covering up all my hyperpigmentation with this product. All my little dots. Now I'm going in with my blush. This technique is called underpainting. I'm going to go in with this filter I found on TikTok to help me map out my contouring. So as you can see here, my contour on my forehead is on the side. My nose is pretty chiseled. I'm bringing my cheeks in. And then that's the final look. And now I'm going to blend all of this out, trying to make sure that I keep everything in the area that I placed it, and that I blend upwards when it comes to my contour. Here I'm tapping my blush into place. It's okay if you drag it into your eyes just a little bit, but try not to go down too far with it. So here I'm going to start filling in my brows with my Wet n Wild brow pencil. And yeah, I like to kind of just fill in the sparse areas that I have. Sometimes I have to brush my brows down like you see here and fill in those spots. But I'm going to do that for both eyes, and then we're going to move on. Taking another NYX Pro Fix Sticks, and I'm going to use that as my first concealer shade. So I'm going to highlight the underneath of my brows, the center of my forehead, nose, my eyes, and then that top of my brow line too. I'm also going to do my mouth, the sides of my mouth, right up under my nose, and then the sides of my nose. And I'm going to take my Halo Glow, and I'm going to use that to contour. I was telling y'all I had a big forehead and I needed to go back in to contour it a bit more, just because I like to bring it in just a little more. So I'm going to put that concealer color on my eyelids as well and use that as my base. I'm just going to blend that out, making sure I don't touch my contour yet on my nose or around my nose. Here I'm taking my color corrector shade just because it's a bit darker and I wanted to add some dimension to my eyelids. So I'm going to place that down and blend it on out just like I did with the first color I did the step before. And because I have the same color, I'm going to use that now to blend out my nose contour. Trying to make sure I keep it in place, keep it straight, and just kind of like tap it on out. Or diffuse it. Now I'm going to take this L'Oreal Voluminous kohl liner, and I'm going to tight line the bottom and the top of my eyes. I have to do this before I set anything with powder because my eyes will get to watering. So make sure you do this step before you set anything with powder, or you even put on your last concealer shade. Now I'm going in with my eyeshadow. I'm kind of gonna set that concealer I have in first with a shade that's close to my skin tone on both eyes. And then in the next step, as you'll see right here, I'm going to take that darker brown, trying to build some dimension in my crease. I'm going to take another brush that's a little smaller and go back in again with my crease, kind of building it up slowly, diffusing it out slowly as well, and doing it on both sides. And here I'm going to take the lighter shade in the palette, and I'm going to use that to put on my lid. I kind of want to brighten the eye, open it up, so that's what I'm going to use, and I'm just tapping it onto my lid with this lid shaped brush. And I'm making sure I'm like packing it in to make sure that it's intense, but also it stays in place, because your lid and your crease can kind of move around and you kind of want it to be defined. So I'm going to go back in with those medium shades, and I'm going to diffuse out that light edge just to make sure it doesn't look blocky and harsh. And it has kind of like an ombre effect. Alright, here I'm taking that kohl liner and I'm drawing a very small wing because I want to smoke this out and drag it into the eyeshadow. So I'm going to take that dark brown and I'm going to use that to kind of smoke out that liner and then drag it into the eyeshadow and kind of blend it on out. Make sure you check to see how far you want your eyeliner to go out, and then kind of smoke it out with a dome shaped pencil brush. And then I'm going back in with that medium brown to diffuse everything once again and blend it all up. And I do that a couple different times. I'm going to define the crease area, and I'm going to make sure I blend that into my nose contour. All right, here I'm going to go in with my lighter concealer shade, and I'm going to place this in strategic areas. Notice I'm only using a little bit because I'm going to blend it out and I don't want it to be too harsh. So keep the shade very minimal. Now I'm going to go in, I'm going to do the highlight of my brow bone as well, just to kind of lift my face. I'm taking a flat concealer brush and I'm kind of blending that out and placing it exactly where I want it to be, connecting it to the areas where I want it to be, making sure I'm not going over my nose contour. After my concealer, I like to go in with my blush brush and reblend my blush out. Then I like to reblend my contour out as well. I put a little bit more of concealer just because I wanted to highlight the center of my face, and it was a little off. So now I'm going to take my foundation, which is About Face. I'm going to put that in the areas where I did not put any contour or any concealer. And we're going to blend that all out with my wet beauty blender. I have not done this in a while, but I actually kind of like the way that it turned out. I feel like it looked a bit more natural and not as cakey or heavy as usual. All right, taking the same sponge. Now I have the Maybelline Fit Me Loose Powder, and I'm setting all of my concealer areas, my under eye, my nose, my forehead with this powder. I'm very generous with this powder just because I love the way that it sits on the skin, and you can't really go, you can get too heavy, too cakey with this, but it takes a minute to get there. So I like to make sure everything is thoroughly set though. I'm going up under my contour, kind of reverse contouring just to make sure everything is sharp and my cheeks are chiseled. Now I'm taking the Maybelline Fit Me Powder Foundation and I'm going over the areas that I set and I'm dusting them off, and I'm also depositing a shade that is more closer to my foundation shade, my natural face shade, just to kind of diffuse it to make sure it doesn't look too light. I know that it looks light now and it's like, girl, we can tell that that's fake. Just trust the process. It's gonna be diffused out and you're not gonna be able to tell at the ending, I promise you. Here I'm going in with a bronzer powder and I'm just bronzing up the face and deepening up, giving it a bit more dimension. And I like to go over the areas that I kind of reverse contour to kind of blend it out. Now I'm going to take my blush. I'm going to start with the darker shade, connect that to the bronzer that I placed down, diffuse that out, and then I'm going to put the lighter color on top. I'm going to go over the lights or cream shade in my eyeshadow, and then I'm going to blend that again with the medium shade. I'm going to take the medium shade and I'm going to go under the waterline, the bottom waterline, and then the bottom lash line to kind of give it a smoky effect with this liner brush. Taking the NYX Matte Finish Setting Spray, spraying it, letting it sit, let it dry. And I'm going to take my Got To Be, I'm going to glue my brow hairs down and in place because without this, they're going to move. So I'm going to take my I Love Extreme Volume mascara and I'm going to slowly start curling and building up the volume in my lashes. This takes a minute. It is a process, but it's worth it, especially if you're not going to be wearing lashes. If you're not going to be wearing lashes, please take your time on your mascara and don't be afraid to go in with more than one mascara. In this video, I'm going to go in with two. This first one for volume and then the other one for thickening and length. So here I have the Essence Lash Princess Mascara, and I'm going to use this for length. And I'm going to try to make my lashes look as long as possible with this. So tapping the ends. As you can see, my eyes started to water. I took my sponge and I dabbed it and I just let it sit before I fix it. I'm moving on now to my Espresso lip liner from Juvia's Place. And then I like to actually set my lip liner in place with the browns that I used on my eyes. So I'm using those eyeshadows to kind of set it and kind of smoke it out, diffuse it out before I put on my lipstick. I like this because I feel like your lip liner is less likely to rub off if you do this. Taking my NYX Soft Matte Lip Cream in Dubai and just patting that in, and I blend it in with my fingers. Something about the finger just warms up the product and blends it in. I go back in, set it with the powder, then I go back in again with the lip liner to make sure it is blended, to make sure that it stays in place before I put on any gloss. I'm also going to set it here with translucent powder that I use on my concealer because I love a matte pout. So now I'm finally going to go in with my lip oil, y'all, making sure I get every part of the lip that I need. I get that shine. Yep. And now we're done, and this is the final look, y'all. Let me know how much you liked this video. Let me know, did it help you with some prom makeup? And subscribe and stay tuned for another.